I'm just making a loop around the first field of wheat straw for us for the season. So a couple of our growers are growing wheat, and the combines have been running for the last few days harvesting it, so we're baling up the straw behind them, and the guys got the first 2 fields done last night, and we got a few more to do. We don't do a whole lot of wheat straw. It's kind of like whenever our growers have wheat planted, you know, we'll do it. This grower in particular, he usually has 1 or 2 fields every year, and what he does is after it's harvested and after we bale it, he'll work it all up and he'll plant cantaloupes is usually what he does. So yeah, the field that we baled up, that's what he's gonna do. He's gonna come in and just get behind us and plant some cantaloupes. But yeah, then tonight the balers are going to head over to the pistachios. You know, a couple videos back where I showed you guys where we were cutting, they're going to head over there and jump into that and try to get that knocked out. So I'm going to run over here and look at the balers real quick, see what's going on. Wait a minute. Paint on that one's a lot shinier. Did we get a new one? No, we just ours broke down pretty bad, so we're actually renting this one from the dealer to get by. Yeah, we had a crank arm break. Never had one break before, and yeah, we had one break, and the driver, I mean, he stopped, but you know, the time that it took him to stop, that broken arm, you know, swung around a couple times and kind of beat some stuff up. So it's just, you know, carnage for hay season, I guess. So yeah, I didn't want to get behind, so we're actually renting this from the dealer while they work on the other one, because we kind of have a push to get through, you know, straw, and then we're going to be jumping around a lot, you know, between the grass and the alfalfa, and we're not real spread out, but you know, you get spread out enough to where the guys are having to travel, you know, 35 minutes, 45 minutes at night, you know, to get from one spot to the other, and we just, you know, we just got to keep the flow going. We got to keep up. So yeah, it's going to cost a little bit to rent this thing, but it costs you when you get behind too. But this baler is pretty much the same thing. It's just the newer of the 434 model. It's a little different. It's got plastic bands, which is kind of neat, you know, where we have the metal ones. I don't know, some guys say they feed smoother. They don't bend, you know, if you hit stuff. We don't really have a problem bending them, but I don't know, it looks cool. That's for sure. I think the red poly bands look kind of neat. That's cool, but everything else is pretty much the same. Well, let's open it up and look at it and see if we can spot any differences. So the first thing I see, this is the automatic oiler, just different. It's probably just a newer updated pump. I think the reservoir might be bigger, which is nice, but it's still a Lincoln. Let's look inside the stuffer. Oh, there's different cleaners. So here's the cleaners for the rotor. Our cleaners are down in the bottom. These are up on top, I think. Whew, man, that chaff is terrible. It's blowing all over the place. I think those cleaners are kind of like the older style that maybe used to be like on the old 432s, I think. So I think, I don't know, it's probably a little bit easier to change them because all your bolts and stuff are right here. That's kind of nice. The bands are different, or these ribs, I mean. This is a little different too. It's kind of like reinforced. I was looking at it yesterday too. I think the plungers is shorter. It looks shorter to me, but Here's how you disengage your trip, you know, for a safety. Normally they have a red handle right here, so when you pop the twine door open on top, it's hooked up on a linkage. It'll pop that handle, so it'll keep it from tripping. This is a little different spring here. That's actually the same spring, I think, that goes on the other side on the holding fork on the stuffer. So these balers now, see that electric motor right there? So now for your bale length, I guess it's totally electronic. So 2 of ours are like that, but you can go back to mechanical. You know, if it fails, well, there's no more mechanical on these things. It's electric only, which I don't know if I'm a big fan of. I always like to have the mechanical to go back to, kind of as a fail safe, I guess. Everything else is pretty much the same. These doors is kind of cool. Well, the twine door opens obviously, but this whole thing will open. See the shocks? So you can get inside here and work, which is kind of nice. I guess probably the biggest change is the knot that it makes. So this they call these twine pros. So it'll tie the same knot that the balers have always tied on one side, but on the other side it makes like a, what do they call it, a bow knot, I think, or a loop knot, I can't remember. See if I can climb up here without falling on my ass. Yeah, so see that right there? This is supposed to be a better knot, and I believe there's no tail on this one. On this side, there's no tail on the knot, so the knot on that side of the bale is still your regular old, you know, knot like our balers tie, but this side is I'm pretty sure it's called a loop knot. I'm gonna have to check that out for sure, but it's supposed to be stronger. It's supposed to, you know, rather than using, you know, a 550 twine or higher grade, you know, that knot's supposed to have more strength. So you're supposed to be able to get more strength out of the twine just on the knot rather than actually changing knot strengths, which I don't know. I played around with 550 last year. I thought it helped, but I also think too that you had to adjust your knotters a little bit different, you know, to as far as twine holders, and then maybe your tension on your bill hook, just because the 550 is a little, I mean, it's a little bit thicker, not much, but it was that much of a difference where your knotters would act a little funny, so you'd have to adjust on them. And anyway, long story short, I ended up just going back to 440 because I just really didn't think it made that big a difference. I don't know, we actually last year had a hard time getting twine, and we got a bunch of 440 instead of 550. But it was funny, when we went from the 550 to the 540, it was like we kind of quit having knotter problems and didn't really see a difference as far as strength. So that's what we went with. One thing they did, it's probably just more cosmetic, that's metal now, which actually is probably better. One of my guys made the comment that he picked it up. He goes, that's actually a lot lighter than the plastic. So, oh yeah, this looks weird. The bill hooks right there, it's kind of pointing forward and it's open. They usually face, you know, 90 degrees that way, and they're closed. But you know, I'm gonna pop one of these up and see what it looks like. I've never looked at these new knotters. Well, one thing, there's no cleaner on the disc, twine disc. That's different. Huh. I think the knife arm's the same. Everything kind of looks the same except when the knotter's down. Ooh, man, that thing's tight. That's just because it's new. Yeah, so there's a line right here. This is the back and the front of a bale. So this is the separation. So yeah, see on this side, the knot is your regular old knot, you know, that the balers make. And then this knot right here is your, I guess they call it a loop knot, something like that. So this, yeah, this is supposed to be stronger. So that would mean the second knot, because as the bale's starting, yeah, so yeah, first knot, yeah, second knot. So as the baler's starting a new bale, this starting with this knot first. Huh, that's interesting. Yeah, so on our baler, we had a crank arm break. So basically, this big arm right here, it broke in the back where the rod connects to the plunger. To me, looking at it, it looks like maybe the welds broke. There's a plate and a gusset on the end of that plunger arm with 2 holes in it, and that's where it connects to the plunger bearing in the back. And yeah, to me, looking at it, it looks like the welds just broke, which I guess over time is just fatigue. You know what else is different too? So on these balers, a lot of balers have their, let me explain what I'm talking about. So when you're running your baler, you can run it in manual, you can run it in auto, meaning your pressure on your chamber. So like us, we'll put it on like 62, 65 is kind of our number. So to keep your setting right, every time the plunger hits, there's a load pin or a load cell that's measuring, you know, force on the plunger, and it'll automatically adjust your pressure on your chamber in the back. Well, when you have it in auto, or no, in manual, you know, you're setting your pressure on your chamber. So if you want to run it at 1500 psi, it's going to stay at 1500 psi no matter what. Where when you have it in auto, you know, if the material's starting to get wet or moisture on it, you know, that the load pin is going to sense that when the plunger hits, so it's going to lessen the pressure in the back. And then if it's dry, it's going to sense that, so then it'll actually make the pressure go up. So it's actually kind of a cool thing when you're driving, you know, if you don't have a moisture meter, you can look at the pressure and kind of know what's going on with the hay. So the higher the pressure, the drier the hay is getting. The lower the pressure, the wetter it's getting. Well, once in a while you have to adjust it, and it's just basically a big set screw and a lock nut, and you go into a menu in the screen, and there's these 2 blue graphs you look at, and you have to get them even, and it's all done right here on this nut. You know, so if you need to change it, you tighten the bolt up or shorten the bolt up, and you know when you have to do it because you'll get a code that comes up. And I usually do it in the winter time, before we start, and then maybe, I don't know, after we've baled for a while, maybe halfway through the season. Like, I probably need to do it pretty quick. I don't think they didn't really need a major update. I think some of the things they did were kind of nice. You know, these are pretty solid balers. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Only thing I don't like is there's no metering arm. There's no mechanical part of the trip anymore. I mean, the star wheel's there, but it's there because this is probably the brains that are reading bale length, you know, that then tell that electric motor when to trip. But it's nice to have that fail safe to go back to, you know, if that fails, because I know on our 434s, you know, we've had to change that motor before, and when it's the middle of the night or whenever, it doesn't matter, and that thing goes out, you know, you can unplug it and set your metering arm at your bale length, and you can keep on rolling. But with this, I don't know. But who knows, maybe maybe they figured it out. Maybe it lasts a little bit longer. I know they moved it. It looks a little bit different. You know, it used to be way back there. Now it's up here. So, I don't know. I'm not saying it won't work, but I just, with our experience on ours and them failing, it was nice to be able to go back to that metering arm. The screen's a little different. I think maybe it's a little bit easier to run. I don't know how well you guys can see that. But, you know, all your pressure settings are these two right here. So this top one's going to read your PSI, which is, where's the gauge at? Well, there's no gauge either. Huh. Ours usually have a pressure gauge right there, which is kind of nice to look at, but there's no gauge anymore. So that'll read your pressure on your chamber, and then here's your load setting. So, and then this is auto, and then if you want to go to manual, there's manual. And then if you want to change it, they showed me how to do this yesterday. Oh, you just tap on it, and then yeah, see, you can change pressure right here. And then, so yeah, if you're in manual, you're manually going to set your pressure. If you're in auto, this is where you're going to set your load. We usually run ours at like 62, so I'm gonna bump it up. We had it on 60 last night. And then here's your bale length. You can change that too if you want to, which it was dead on accurate. I mean, I was measuring bales, and it was, you know, it's on 96 inches, so 8 feet, and it was like 8'1", 8'2", which is fine. That's perfect. But yeah, everything else is pretty simple. Everything you need to know is down here. I think you can put more. Huh. Yeah, it's different. But yeah, pretty cool. Remember that little red trailer we fixed up? I got it with me, so I'm going into town. I put in our air filter order for almond harvest. We usually go through about 2 or 3 sets of air filters per machine. So yeah, like most of you probably know, that it's been hard to get parts. Some things are not available, or some things are across the country, across the ocean, or they're sitting on a boat somewhere because we can't get anything shipped. A little rant over. So anyway, I went to our local parts house that we have here in town and just got all the filters ordered, and he got them all for me. I'm still waiting on a couple, but I'm gonna go get them. So I think it's gonna be on a pallet, and they're gonna wrap it up in plastic. So I thought, well, I'll get the little trailer out that we fixed up. So that's what we're doing. Filters and now baler twine. So we're getting low on twine, down to our last 2 or 3 pallets. So got another 5. Hope we need more. We probably will, but I'm gonna get this guy unloaded. There it is, 5 fresh pallets. So I think we started with 14. I had 4 or 5 from last year, and then I ordered another 10 before we started, and we got down to the last 2 over there. So getting down kind of low, but I hope we need more. And I don't know if my wife's watching. She's probably griping like, oh man, another bill, but if you're not buying twine, it means you're not baling anything because you're not putting string around it. So buying twine's a good thing, right? Even though it's like 15% more than it was last year, but we're not going to talk about that because according to our president, inflation's only like 8 or 9%, but gas is what, 50? Oh no, wait, like 100% higher, 120% higher than it was, along with everything else. So we won't get into that.